Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over the market. I'll give you my thoughts moving forward into next week. Could be a pretty massive week because we have what could be the first rate cut next week, Wednesday. So I'll give you my thoughts moving forward and all that good stuff. So as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section is live. That link is down below. For just $2.99, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, technical analysis, options flow, etc. on Tesla and sometimes other stocks like the broader market as a whole. Just $3 a month. Link is below. Would love to have you there. Or for $5 a month, you get access to all of that plus daily NVIDIA updates as well. So definitely check it out if you're interested. But I think I said everything else, right? Don't forget to hit like the video. I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice, all that stuff. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Tesla closing the day up just a measly 0.2% on the day, which unfortunately is technically an underperformance for the market, but the market definitely nothing, too crazy to write home about either. Up about 0.5%, we'll say, both markets, right? SPY and QQQ, right? So what does this mean moving forward, right? What is this? Is Tesla going to finally move higher? Like, are we breaking out of this 232, 235 range, or what the hell's happening, right? Well, let's talk about that. So 1 hour chart, you can see really quickly this morning, we actually had a pretty massive fall, actually 15-minute chart, massive fall in the first 15 minutes. We went straight to like 226.5, and then we actually found a pretty powerful bounce off of that, came right back up almost to the exact opposite side of the spectrum at about 232, 233, something like that, right close to that general range. Got rejected there as well, and pretty much just went sideways for the rest of the day. So, I mean, it pretty much stands as follows, right? I've been saying this for a while now. We'll continue saying this, right? This 232-ish to 235-ish range, very, very massive area to break through, right? It's a massive area of resistance. It's an area that Tesla needs to break if it wants to see anything higher, like for instance, 240 to 245, like somewhere around mid to low 240s, right? If it wants to see that at all, if it wants any hope, of seeing that, it needs to break that range, right? It needs to break that range and start closing at least a daily candle, I would say, like at least a daily candle above 232-ish, maybe slightly more than that, but 233 even to be safer, right? Minimum a daily candle above that, or just really breaking the range of 235, right? Just really, if price can go higher than 235, that in itself could be pretty good news as well, as long as it doesn't instantly collapse. So you still probably want to wait for at least some candle closure, like maybe a 15 or an hour candle closure above 235. But if we can see that, I think Tesla can definitely make its way higher up to the top of this little, rising wedge or channel that we're roughly in, which will bring Tesla, I mean, depending on when it happens, I think we'll bring Tesla back up to somewhere around, again, mid to low 240s, getting close to this gap fill as well. And that's just kind of what I look for, right? But I'd be surprised if we see too much higher until or unless we break out of this rising wedge that we are in as well. So I want to show you something pretty interesting here. There's a lot I want to talk about today, honestly. Let's take a look at this, right? This chart right here is literally Tesla inverted, right? You take the Tesla chart and you quite literally invert it, right? What does this look like to you, right? If I were to remove this, right? If you were to strictly look at this chart, right? Does this look bullish or bearish to you, right? The answer should be it's a bullish chart. It is a bullish, technically a bullish chart. Obviously, while you're within this descending wedge slash bull flag, it's bearish because, obviously you're trending downwards while you're within it. But usually in these kind of scenarios, right, what do you get? Well, you get a massive rally. Then you get a consolidation, slightly declining volume, except for these two candles right here. But the volume today, for instance, is pretty low, right? Slowly declining volume. And then ultimately what you get is a breakout to the upside, right? Which again, you get a 1 touch point, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, you break out, right? That's usually how these play out. Obviously, not always. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed, but it's pretty rare where I see these kind of things not play out with a breakout to the upside, or in other words, it's pretty rare if I see it go down like this even further, which if this were to happen is bullish on Tesla. But it's not impossible. It's just from my personal experience, it's pretty rare where I see something like this happen, where again, it'll look something like this. We have this, little zigzag happening, right? And then we ultimately go down like this. Like that's pretty rare. Not impossible, but like rare, like 20% chance I would give it, right? Maybe 30 at best, right? That this happens, right? About 70% chance, in my opinion, that you essentially do this, which again, if this were to play out and if we were to essentially play out this, what could be a bull flag, which is essentially, again, this is inverted Tesla, right? So it's literally the opposite. This would be bearish on Tesla, which, like I said just now, Tesla is technically setting up this massive bear flag that it's in, right? Obviously, there's still more room to the upside on this bear flag. Again, like I said, we can still head into the mid to low 240s, touch the top of this bear flag one more time. That is a very real possibility, right? That can happen, especially if we break 235. So just keep that in mind. Very, very realistic possibility. But again, same with these kind of scenarios, massive fall. We have this little, flag forming right now, right? it's pretty rare that it does something like this. Again, it can happen. It's not zero. There's absolutely a possibility. But again, in my opinion, it's a 20 to 30% chance possibility to break out northwards out of this ascending wedge or channel, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to going like this. Again, just my opinion. We'll see. We'll take it day by day. We'll take it level by level, naturally, right? Of course, we're not trying to predict anything here. We're just kind of thinking out loud of what may happen in the future. But as usual, we'll let the levels dictate for us, right? For instance, if Tesla ever loses this bottom channel right over here, that's pretty bearish. I think that'll be really bearish. I think Tesla will definitely make its way lower. And like I said, because it's a massive, massive bear flag, I think this will bring Tesla probably back into the 180s to 170s, if not worst case scenario to the 150s. Once again, probably sometime in like mid to late October is my guess if it were to happen. But that's just a complete guess in terms of time frames, right? Maybe it's November. I don't know. Who knows when? But if we lose this bottom channel, I'm not going to lie, it's not looking too hot for Tesla, right? You definitely don't want to lose this bottom channel. That would be pretty damn bearish, right? And this is another version of that chart I just talked about. Obviously, the inverted version of it, flipped. So just, again, keep in mind, right? This is just something, this is worth mentioning. This is definitely worth mentioning for Tesla moving forward. But those are the main things I'm looking at. Let's take a look at the 1 hour chart really quickly, right? The 1 hour chart, you can see, stochastic is technically bearish. It is starting to curl up a little bit. So again, maybe setting up for a move a little bit higher. Who knows? But MACD is bearish, right? On the 1 hour, RSI is finally starting to lose a little bit of steam. By the way, I did actually change one setting I want to mention really quickly on the RSI. RSI is usually set at, I think, 12 or 14. I can't remember which one. It's either 12 or 14. I actually set the RSI length, thanks to someone I follow on Twitter called Mo, to 5. Why? Because it's much more aggressive. Usually RSI historically has been, from a lot of people, at least in my opinion, a very slow and laggy indicator, right? Where even from my experience, I would only really use it for extreme scenarios where it's like extremely overbought or extremely oversold or some divergences, right? But setting it to 5 actually puts the RSI in a much more of an aggressive state, right? So now the RSI can actually be used for more aggressive and not laggy technicals, essentially. So the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that it switched, just FYI. I personally think it'll be a massive, massive W moving forward. So I'm excited to use this new RSI now. But the daily chart, actually, let's go back to the 1 hour chart. Let's finish the 1 hour chart. The 1 hour chart, again, it's losing a little bit of steam, right? It's definitely losing a little bit of steam. So that's why I'm not super, I don't think we'll break out of it just yet, right? I personally think my overall objective around the market, Tesla, etc. I mean, Tesla, assuming Tesla follows, you never know sometimes, is the fact that I do believe the market is going to actually top out here for the next couple of days, right? I think, again, Wednesday is the FOMC rate decision. I think we'll probably have a small sell-off into that. Not a major sell-off, a small sell-off, like a couple percent or something like that. Nothing crazy, right? For instance, the market, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back down to this 21 EMA, right? Which if, let's say, QQQ tops out pretty much right at this trend line and it comes back down for the next couple of days, pretty much a 2% drop, which is not a lot, right? That's not a lot at all, which again, if that happens for Tesla, and let's say Tesla does come back down to the 21 EMA / the bottom of this channel, right? If QQQ is down about 2%, what does that mean for Tesla? Probably closer to 4%. Well, that actually lines up pretty damn well. Tesla will be down about 4.5%. from current levels if it were to follow QQQ to my current projections, where I think the market will retrace a little bit starting off the next week as we head into the first rate decision, where we most likely will get our first rate cut, as to where I think the market will probably soar after that, right? I think we'll soar as we head into October. And I think once we get into the first half of October, that's when the market most likely will look to top. So for instance, right, again, the market could potentially do something like this, right? And this will look similar to Tesla, right? Come back down, retest the 21 EMA, and probably head higher to all-time highs, if not maybe slightly higher. And then I think from there, we'll top out and then probably look for a natural overall correction, because the market looks strong. I'm not gonna lie, the market looks strong on the daily chart, right? Which is why the 1 hour chart is definitely losing steam, which is why I personally think the market is starting to look toppy on the 1 hour chart. Could see that little retrace, but the daily chart still, looks great. Like, this is not a stock. This is not a market I would short, right? This is not a market I would personally short on the daily chart. Same with Tesla. The daily chart, honestly, still looks pretty solid. Higher highs on the BX trender. Stochastic is still bullish. RSI still looks okay. Honestly, RSI is kind of okay here. I would say, I wouldn't say it's particularly bullish, but it's definitely more bullish than bearish. MACD still looks great. So the daily chart, Tesla, honestly, it still looks pretty damn good. Like, this is, it doesn't look like it wants to roll over just yet, even though the 1 hour suggests that, some bullish momentum is slowing down, which is why, like I said, if we do get that, early next week pullback into FOMC rate decision on Wednesday, I don't expect it to be a steep pullback, because the daily charts overall are still looking pretty solid, pretty powerful. So I expect the market as a whole just to pull back to the 201 EMA roughly, get a retest of that. Keep in mind also, Tesla has now had officially 5 green or white candles in a row, starting with pretty much this week. Every single day this week has been slightly higher, right? Monday we had this, white candle, followed by this candle, this candle, this candle, this candle. All week we have slightly closed higher and higher, higher and higher and higher, right? And naturally at some point we will get that red candle, and the more white candles we get in a row, the higher chance the next one is probably a red one, right? That's just, it's it kind of is what it is. It seems like it's almost like a roulette thing. It's like, well, it just can't keep landing on black. Surely it goes on red next. Similar to that, but in this case, it is kind of like a thing, right? It is a thing where, as the market, same with the market, at the more and more, red in a row, or the more and more green/white in a row, the higher the chance that the next candle will be the opposite, right? It is what it is, right? That's just kind of how it works, which is why another reason I expect the market to probably get a very small pullback into FOMC next week, right? Same with NVIDIA, which I'll talk about in the video pretty soon. But those are the main things I'm looking at on Tesla. In terms of options flow, we had some bearish ones come in towards the end of the day, but nothing really stood out. We had a 1.3 million. I guess it's the only thing that stood out. 1.3 million put did come in on Tesla, 250 strikes, so it is obviously very much in the money, but I'm not surprised it's in the money, because for 1.3 million put coming in above the ask, by the way, I might add, for September 27th, which is what, not next week, but the week after. It's pretty much 2 weeks out that they came in, and they bought it when Tesla was at 229. So pretty much where it is right now, right? It's only $1 higher, not much at all. So clearly some whale or someone is expecting, Tesla and probably the market, but clearly Tesla to pull back a little bit, right? It's very much in the money of a strike, because again, the dates, it's only 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out for a 1.3 million put, that's pretty aggressive in my opinion, right? That's why it's so in the money, so that maybe if they are wrong or takes slightly longer than they expect or whatever, there's a little bit of cushion there, being, this well into being, this much in the money. So they paid extra for that extra cushioning. But again, with just a 2 week expiration date, they still need to be fairly on point in my opinion, right? But if it was out of the money and 2 weeks, then they'd have to be really on point. So maybe they're, it's like a little slight insurance added to this pretty risky option, in my opinion. That's just the way I look at it. But yeah, that's just the way I'm looking at it overall for Tesla stocks. So keep in mind that inverted version of Tesla as well. But ultimately, again, I expect a little bit of a retrace, probably Monday or Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, the first half of Wednesday before the cut decision comes in. But ultimately, I expect that to hold. I expect the rate cut to come in. Either, I don't know if it'll be 25 or 50. I have no idea. But I would expect the market to most likely, unless of course Tesla breaks below the 201 EMA and below this trend line, to probably base out and most likely head higher. And I think Tesla will do something like this. Like I said, one more time, come back down, come back to this trend line, 21 EMA, retest that, most likely head up higher, come back up to this top of this channel right here, right? This rising wedge, rising channel, whatever you want to call it, get really close to this gap fill around 245, right? Mid to low 240s. And then ultimately, I think we'll make our way down. That's my current projection moving forward for the next couple weeks or so. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Who knows? We'll see. We'll take it level by level and day by day. But all in all, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now moving forward. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Hopefully I don't forget anything. Of course, we have the weekly chart. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. The weekly chart's actually not looking too bad. Stochastic is on the verge of flipping bullish. Not yet, though. Keep that in mind. Not yet. But the BX trender is making a fresh higher high, which is nice to see. MACD is still looking, MACD is still looking pretty solid. The weekly is actually not looking too bad yet, right? So the weekly is still setting up for potential move a little bit higher as well, closer to that next major level, which is again low to mid 240s, which honestly at this point I do expect to hit. I do expect us to probably make our way up there, but as of right now, I don't expect too much higher, unless of course we break out of this wedge, right? This is the main thing I'm looking at still, right? This wedge, very, very important. If we break out of this wedge to the north side, by the way, it will be very bullish, and I think Tesla will, I think it'll explode upwards at least to 265. And if we break 265, well, we're going much, much higher. Those are a lot of ifs. Those are major, major ifs. Again, level by level, day by day, even week by week. So anyway, I don't want to blabble on too much. You get the idea, you get the picture, and you probably get what I am expecting moving forward. Tesla, 10 million confirmed bullish flow. Nothing to really write home about. So, here's another one here. You can see this is that Tesla one. Same one, 1.3 million, 250, right? 927. So anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.